morning, everybody. I am driving, so I cannot look at the camera, but I felt like I needed to make another video. It's been a while. About my personal experience with stigma and how I used to view people that suffered with substance abuse. So, you can imagine, before Dakota died, he had been in and out of his addiction for about 8 years, and I never was really involved in the beginning, but there towards the end, as he burned bridges, I became more relevant to him as a person that he could use. And my response to his addiction was anger. Pure anger. I was mad at him because I didn't understand it. I did view it as a moral failing that he couldn't get his shit together. I couldn't understand it. I was not that person. I didn't suffer. So to me, in my mind, without the education that I have now, he was acting like a child. He wasn't growing up. He needed to just get it together. He needed to put the crap down. Just complete moral failing. And in my anger, because I didn't know what substance abuse was, I didn't know the disease model, I didn't understand it, I completely turned my back on him. I wouldn't talk to him, I wouldn't respond to his phone, I wouldn't let him around the house, I never told him that I loved him, I didn't wish him happy birthday, I completely cut him off. And I think that is what a lot of people refer to as tough love. But I'm here to tell you that that was the wrong way to handle my brother's addiction. It was the wrong way to handle my own emotions and feelings of his addiction. It affects the whole family, and as a sister, it affected our relationship tremendously, and his relationship with my children, because I didn't trust him and I didn't want him around. Now, there's a totally different viewpoint that I have now, and so you may be shocked to hear everything I just said, because now obviously my viewpoint is entirely different. I have a much greater respect and caring viewpoint to addiction, because it is a disease. The way the brain changes with substance abuse, especially long-term substance abuse, the fact that a person abusing substances literally cannot make their own dopamine. They are relied exclusively on the drug to produce dopamine, which is what makes us feel good. It makes us feel happy, content, satisfied with life. And they literally cannot make dopamine. So the fact that I considered it a moral failing was completely incorrect. It was the wrong viewpoint. And I'm here to tell you, if I, of all people, can change my viewpoint on addiction and substance abuse, so can you. You can change your viewpoint, because you can educate yourself just like I educated myself. Unfortunately, after he died, it opened up a whole new world that I didn't even know was possible, which included recovery. I didn't think people recovered from addiction. I thought they died, or they ended up in jail and they stayed there, or they lived that lifestyle forever. I did not know that people recovered from it, and that it was a lifestyle change, and that with the proper resources you could get better. So I'm here to tell you that the way I handled it was the wrong way. So what I should have done instead, and what I'm telling you to educate yourself about today, is detachment with love. And with that being said, no, I would not, still to this day, would have let him in my house if he was relapsed, because that was a danger to myself and to my children, and it wasn't a risk or a consequence that I was willing to accept for his behavior. But what I could have done was text him and told him I loved him. What I could have done was called him up and said that I loved him, or that I was here for him when he was ready for help. Or I could have been more supportive when he was in recovery, instead of reliving his past and beating him down, because that wasn't the correct answer. I should have shown him love for the person while I hated the disease. And I'm here to tell you that if you're a family member that's struggling with somebody that's using, to love them through it, love them anyways, but have boundaries, have consequences for their actions. Don't accept what you don't want to accept, but you can still show a person love without enabling them. And that is something that I did not realize until after Dakota was gone. And my biggest regret in this life, and maybe I'll always have this regret, and maybe I'll always carry this guilt, I don't know, is that I wasn't there for him the way I could have been. And I wish so fervently that I knew then what I know now, because Dakota's outcome could have been drastically different. We don't know if my behavior being different towards him would have it enabled him to choose recovery instead of continued use. We'll never know that, and that's not for me to know. But I could have made a difference in Dakota's life, and I didn't, because I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that I had that power in me, and you have that power as a family member, and as a community member, and as a friend, and I encourage you to do all the research you can on addiction and the disease process and how it changes the brain, and do your own research on enabling versus helping, on detaching with love, and get your own support, because my anger stemmed from I could see how awesome he could be. I could see his potential. I could see how smart and how loving and how caring he was. And damn it pissed me off that he couldn't see it. He was so broken inside that he couldn't see what I saw in him. And I could not understand why he couldn't see that. It made me so mad. And that was my go-to emotion, because I didn't understand the disease process. So love your people through it. Don't turn your backs on them. Have boundaries. Don't enable them. But you can still love the person and hate the disease. And you can make a difference in somebody's life. And as always, if anybody needs anything, you know how to get a hold of me. And if you're using, or if you're in recovery, or if you're a family member, or if you're any of the one of billions of people that have been affected by substance use, I love you. I care. I'm here if you need me. Thanks, guys.